Hi everyone, this is audap. Let's continue our game of Her World running on the Steam Deck.
어디 보자. 지금 넌 내 어떤 점이 제일 좋아?
Your grip?
뭐?
Yona peered at me. I mean, your face.
그치?
She made it sound like that answer was obvious. So what's so swell about me?
내면 세계.
Don't patronize me.
몸.
Of course. A natural response. After all, we'd only known each other a few days. For me and for her, neither of us had a deep understanding of each other. It wasn't uncommon for two people with completely different inclinations to work well together in the early stages of any relationship. However, the longer the two people spent together, the wider the gap between them. In the end, the fact that the two even met just brought about pain.
그러니까 네가 어떤 사람인지 좀 더 가르쳐줘. 나도 많이 알려줄 테니까. 서두를 필요 없어. 이쪽 세계에서라면 빼앗길 염려가 없잖아. 그 이점을 활용해 보도록 해.
You're not worried about losing me?
나랑 썸 타는 중인데도 눈에 들어올 사람이면 정말로 좋은 사람일 거잖아? 그 정도면 인정해야지. 없겠지만. That confidence, sure? It's sure? There was nothing I could say to refute it, so I had nothing to say. The elevator arrived, then the doors opened. 솔직히 난 사귀면서 알아가는 것도 나쁘진 않다고 보는 편이야. 하지만 지금은 좀 그런 게.
I got in the elevator and turned to look back. Yuna was wearing a sheepish smile, avoiding eye contact.
오늘 본 빨간 우비 여자애 있지?
Yeah?
너 내일 와서 걔부터 꼬셔야 해.
The elevator door. What? It closed. The non-stop rain pelted the leaves of the trees. The falling rain mixed with my body, burst in a flood of red, and became one with it. It flowed through this small world I was trapped in. Up again, down again, always watching. I didn't have a strong sense of will for a bit, but now I somehow felt like I was back. Am I like a reflection in a pool of water and not a mirror? Then it's only natural to return to the water. The sense of ego I'd collected only a minute ago faded, and I flowed on as before. Bloody Feet was shouting something in the rain. Nothing would happen to me now if I saw its face. Of course, it wasn't just a pair of feet, but a thing with tentacles, grotesquely twisted as they were. The black figures bowed to the owner of the bloody feet. They were praying, crying, praising. The girl in the red raincoat was hiding behind a building on the other side of the compound, her hands over her ears. She could just go away if she didn't want to hear it, but she was staying there, her eyes glued to one of the black shapes. She was relatively more whole than some of the other figures, and I could make out that she was a gaunt woman, advanced in years. I watched the figure, feeling nothing. Then from the space behind the girl in the red raincoat, the tip of a knife appeared. It stabbed in again and again, like it was attacking from behind an invisible wall. The terrified black figures scattered, and Bloody Feet was still chanting something. The girl in red stayed where she was. She watched as two hands tried to tear open a hole in the air. Something about to come in. Maybe it's something that shouldn't be here. I thought that as I simply existed in that world of flowing water. Kia? It was as if the air itself was rejecting the presence, like a giant sea monster pulling itself up into the shallows, getting its body ripped apart in the process. I heard the sound of broken bones and ripping flesh. Still, the body kept trying to get through, desperately, frantically.
아프겠다. 갑자기 보고 싶어졌어?
The girl in the red raincoat spoke.
버렸으면서. 다시 볼 생각도 안 했으면서. 이제 와서?
Dripping with a mix of rain and blood, barely sticking through, after hearing the girl's words and seeming to give up. In a final act of desperation, the body pushed through in a spray of blood. The knife sunk into the Bloody Feet's back. Bloody Feet took off in a manic dash. The place where the knife sunk in. It was in a similar spot where I was scratched. I wasn't sure if I had used up all the thing's energy, but it disappeared through the gap right after, like it was sucked through. The hole in the air went back to normal. The girl in the red raincoat directed her empty gaze at that spot for a time before slowly walking to where I was pooled. I had another thought while watching that pan out. A place from where it was still impossible to cross into this world. I'm sure that thing knew about that too. Despite that, the figure forced its way through and planted that knife in Bloody Feet. Why? For whom? The girl submerged her hand into me. She passed something that glowed red into me. A noise, unable to escape, echoed inside my fading consciousness. It wasn't the everyday consciousness that observed the flow of events in the outside world, but I was beginning to get a grasp on my feelings. Not yet. It wasn't enough to bring me back to how I was before. How was I before? What did that mean? Then, the girl in the red raincoat grabbed me. She looked at me with some degree of pity in her eyes.
모르겠어. 아야가 등 다쳤다니까 똑같이 해주러 온 거잖아. 나한텐 신경도 안 쓰고.
What? I was no longer a puddle of water, so I...
오빠야, 이제는 거기 있지?
The moment Whoopi said that, I regained my former existence. There. The bus was so noisy, my head, leaning against the window, felt numb. Holy... Okay, where am I now? I jumped out of my chair and checked what bus station we were at. We were already 3 stops past the university hospital. I quickly pressed the button to stop the bus and jumped off. My head hurt. What did I expect after resting it on the bus window? Was I really that tired? I slept so well you'd think I was sleeping at home. I could remember some sort of dream. Whatever, I walked a little faster. A day had passed since my first excursion into the world of rain. The weather was unceremoniously clear, and the large backpack I wore felt heavy on my back. There were all sorts of things I wanted to bring to that world with its deteriorating infrastructure. I had no idea which items I could actually get to work, so I just brought the whole lot of them.
너 다음에 왔을 땐 걔부터 꼬셔야 해.
Tempt her? Whoopi in her red raincoat? I could play with kids, but Iona was an oddly sly woman, and her tone of voice was suspicious. What on earth did she want me to do? I had no idea. I wanted to ask her that question right this second. Not having a messenger app to rely on was worse than I imagined. Not being able to reach her had me worried. Even though it wasn't a particularly sensitive issue, it kept me up all night. How did people communicate before there were these devices? What did they do if someone had to suddenly change their appointments? I pondered that as my feet kept moving me down the street. It felt odd to see the world keep on turning after having seen its collapsed state only in the day before, seeing all the busted up shops on that side, the buildings, the traffic lights, the roads, and also the gate to the school. There was a big school not far from the university hospital. I'd heard the name of the bus stop quite a number of times. And also, the students playing basketball at the courts. No, more specifically, the colors of their uniforms. They looked strangely familiar. The white tops and black bottoms, the position of their name tags, the school logo. The students playing basketball were all male, but if the girls' uniforms bore the same basic design, it would look... Of course, it was quite a popular color combination for school uniforms. There was no way I could fake the horrible leer I saw through that window. It was at least worth checking out. The person was only trying to communicate after inflicting damage equal to or greater than the first punch unfairly thrown. In the process, the person is justified in any sort of a counterattack if it is of the same kind as the attack dealt by the opponent. Because the other party struck first, it was only natural. If one does not agree to the terms, one should never go through with the attack in the first place. I carelessly trudged through the school gates. Huh? The kids playing there were wearing two types of uniforms. There must have been kids from two different schools there. So how do I find... No, I won't find her like this. I quickly got a hold of myself. No matter how I looked at it, Yuri existed in the other world. Since I was the only person able to go back and forth, she couldn't be at this school. I must have gone crazy. I could see the papers now. Grown man strides in the school shouting, "Hey kids, which class is that punk Yuri in?" Why was I so on edge? Incidents with her kept on occurring, but the birth rate was falling a lot these days, but finding one student in a whole school full of students wouldn't be easy. Our eyes met. It was like every student had disappeared from the schoolyard and only she remained outside. Hey, you! Hey, hello? I raised a hand and shook it in front of her. Yuri's expression slowly hardened. Yuri, this is the first time I've seen you outside, isn't it? Yuri ran away without turning to look back. I shortened the straps a little on my backpack to make it more comfortable and began jogging across the schoolyard. 3 memory quests. Oh, 3 memory crystals. Reach your destination within the time limit. Great. Here's something horrible coming. Yeah, well, it's to be expected, huh? Like, where is my destination? I have no idea. Oh, they're keeping pace with me. Well, that's no fun. To go. Reach your destination. Where the hell is that? Suddenly I was wandering through the rainy world. Despite being soaked and covered in mud, I walked on. How long had I been walking like this? I went up to the ruins of the lodging to have a look around. Then for some reason I felt tired and decided to sit for a while. Even though I'm formed again, I still share the same thing that real me suffers from, muscle fatigue. However, I can't stop. Between the drops of rain, past the mist, at first glance I thought it was something red shaking about. It looked to be quite a ways away, but it was actually a bit closer than I thought at first. It didn't come quickly. It would just disappear for a while, and when it reappeared, it was definitely closer. Just like my own reflection. It's okay. It's still far enough away. If I just head back to the big building. What? The sound of laughter right next to my ear made me leap to my feet. I whipped around. The red raincoat was clearly where I had been before, but how? I straightened up. I didn't feel like I could stay here. I jumped down off the building I was on and ran in the direction opposite from where the raincoat was coming from. Did the voice I just hear really come from the red raincoat? What's going on right now? No, wait. Maybe I was just unconsciously wary of the red color, or of the color red. What if she took off the raincoat and was moving around without it? Maybe it was the wind moving the raincoat even closer. Then, smack. Something fell behind me. I heard the sound of a child walking. That same laughter started ringing in my ears. When I turned around, it looked like something that was about to devour its trapped prey. It looked like a predator I didn't want to fight back against. Nah, what are you doing running around without your raincoat? I grabbed at Wooby, who had me in a rear naked choke, but quickly ran into the building. I quickly wiped away the beading water, grabbed a towel, and dried her hair. She had almost ruined her pajamas, yellow as a baby chick. I saw that Wooby was shivering a bit and quickly threw her raincoat back on her. She was going to catch a cold like that. Don't laugh. Did you enjoy that?
내가 이기고 오빠야가 졌어. 패배자야.
She looked down her nose at me when pointed. You could catch a cold like that, don't you know?
오빠야도 비옷 없이 나대면서.
I'm fake.
안 추운 건 아니잖아.
Wooby grabbed the towel and...
뭐라?
Hey, hold up. She tried to dry my hair, but she couldn't reach and pulled out my collar instead. She wasn't happy until my head was lower than hers. Then she began to scrub. Hey, Wooby.
Huh?
The act before. Why'd you have to make it like a horror flick?
어려운 말 몰라.
She pretended not to know the difficult words I mixed in when the situation wasn't to her advantage. When you went to grab me back then, Wooby. I grabbed her shoulders and went into uncle talking to niece mode. You pretend to slowly sneak up on me only to jump out all of a sudden.
그랬던가?
I was hoping you'd tell me why you decided to do something like that.
엄마 몰래 TV에서 하는 무서운 영화 본 적 있어.
And?
귀신이 전등을 껐다 켰다 하다가 그때마다 마지막엔 천장에서 확 내려와 잡아먹었어.
So? Huh? Why am I shivering?
귀신도 열심히 하는구나 생각했어.
Huh?
그냥 나타나서 잡아가도 될 텐데. 막
전등 키면서 가까이 다가오고 일부러 천장에 기어 올라가고 그런 거 다 생각하고 연습해서 열심히 한 거 아냐?
She had a point.
그러니까 나도 열심히 해야 될 것 같아.
Do you think you're a ghost?
나 그런 거 잘 몰라. 까먹었어.
We'd come a long way for her to suddenly feign innocence.
오빠야도 그 비슷한 거잖아.
Because I'm fake? Wooby tilted her head a bit and spoke.
그러니까 동맹.
Do you know what an alliance is?
도와줘.
With what?
일단 더 놀아줘.
Huh? Okay. We hadn't known each other for very long, but man, she was a hard kid to get a read on, though all kids were sort of that way. Just as a thought experiment, imagine being chased through a school by a lumbering middleweight. If someone offered 300 million won to last 3 hours, would there be any takers? Some people may say it's worth a shot. Since a school is a place people will get familiar with, they may know all the good hiding places. Plus, if the place is large enough, they might not even cross paths during the 3 hours. As long as the hider and seeker don't lock eyes right at the start, that is.
저리 꺼져, 변태 새끼야!
You should speak nicer to your elders. I followed leisurely behind Yuri, keeping about 5 steps between us as she careened through the empty halls. I stayed where she could see me, showing that I didn't want to just beat her up.
왜 이래 진짜!
I just want to talk.
난 오빠랑 할 말 없어!
You can think of a few things, no? When pursuing an escapee, how are you supposed to subdue them without throwing a punch? After all, we lived in a world where the person who landed the first blow could become the victim with a single accusation. How am I supposed to take down the person who started this without injuring her?
대화하기 싫다는데 왜 자꾸 따라와!
Because I think a talk would be good for us. It was possible with jiu-jitsu in most cases. A person who didn't know proper grappling techniques was easy to overpower, and if something broke, it wouldn't be my fault. It was the fault of the person who was kindly warned that movement would result in some sort of injury or breakage. However, the person might be such a wimp that they then caused a fuss and threatened to sue, even if it was just a slight twist to the arm. Some people would conveniently ignore the fact that they had started it all and just call the cops. So, where did that leave me? Hard, huh?
오지 마.
It was more simple than that. Just had to wait for the other party to tire and collapse. In today's case, that just meant staying inside while keeping some distance. The fear that brought about would cause the other person to go into an all-out sprint, throwing pacing out the window. Every person wants a peaceful conversation once they're completely spent. Even more when the other person is wearing a large backpack, yet showing no signs of tiring. People were just like that. I'm done running.
진짜 왜?
Run some more. You still got some left in the tank. Do it. Keep groaning and run a bit more. There weren't many places to run, just a school building and a schoolyard out front, smaller than you'd think. For a while I just stood there looking down at Yuri as she took gasping lungfuls of air. Yep, pretty tame outside her mirror.
나한테
Huh?
왜 이래요?
Finally some respect in her tone. I didn't answer, choosing instead to give her a warm smile.
소리 지를 거예요?
You should catch your breath first. It didn't look like there was anyone here. Where did those guys on the basketball courts go anyway? Did they have remote classes these days?
촉법 소년이랑 싸우면 오빠만 손해인 거 몰라요?
Who says we're fighting? Good communication was key. Besides, she looked old enough to be tried as an adult. Yuri had caught her breath and was taking a frantic look around. It looked like she was trying to find a suitable escape route. I got out of the way, giving her a wide corridor to escape down. Sure, run more if you want. How many seconds lead should I give you? You parched? I think I've got a Pocario or some other sports drink in my bag. Should I grab it for you? Yuri looked close to tears. She was very worked up, clearly not understanding the situation she was in.
뭐예요, 진짜? 나한테 어쩌라고요?
Why did you do all that before?
뭐요?
Why did you use the flash on your phone to rile up those black creatures?
사과했잖아요.
When?
어?
She looked genuinely surprised. Despicable. I had definitely not received any sort of apology.
설마 눈치 못 챘...
I'm not asking for an apology. I just want to know why you did it. There must have been a reason.
그냥... 그게...
You think I'm just a pushover, that it? Yuri covered her face with both hands and flopped to the floor, looking like her legs had gone limp.
이러지 마세요. 무서워요.
Tears began flowing from those wide eyes of hers. Little girl.
싫어요. 저는 그냥...
I saw you put eye drops in your eyes. Yuri's expression suddenly changed from fake tears to rock solid in a second. She smirked and threw a plastic container to the floor. Artificial tears.
뭐야, 오빠. 안 속네?
Her tone shifted as if nothing had happened. She dusted her pants off and got back to her feet. Kids these days. Seriously. You think I haven't seen that act before?
눈치 까도 넘어가주는 게 매너인 거 몰라요?
Of course I know that, but why should I let it slide for you? Maybe for a girlfriend.
역겨운 소리 집어치워요.
As she giggled and feigned innocence, she slid a hand behind her back. There was something in the shoe rack behind her. Hey, left hand. What? Got something else you want to use? With one hand held behind her back, Yuri gave me a fierce glare. I replied with that same warm smile. Try it. Let's see what you got.
이 오빠가 진짜?
Yuri aimed the thing she had gotten from the shoe rack at me. Was that a watering can? Before she could do whatever she had planned, I gave it a jab with the front of my hand and sent it flying. The watering can clanged as it bounced across the floor. The contents sprayed everywhere, and I smelled chemicals.
뭐 하는지 본다며요.
What'd you put in there? Something to put me to sleep? Something to burn me? It doesn't work like it does in the movies.
아, 진짜.
Yuri slunk off to one side like a cat. I thought the chase was beginning again, but she opened the door to the classroom right next to us and slid inside. I heard the lock slide into place with a click. Oh, not bad. Yuri was behind the door, catching her breath again. I was about to let her have a breather when...
오빠, 제발 좋은 말로 할 때 그냥 꺼져. 응?
She fed me back one of her lines. I don't have time to deal with you. Oh, well, I don't have time to deal with you. Oh, that's your problem. Oh, is she not acting these lines? Do you have no sense of what's going on? You should think a bit before you open your trap again.
뭐 어쩔 건데? 저번처럼 부수고 들어오게요? 이렇게 두꺼운 문인데?
You think you're so smart, huh? Are you the school valedictorian or something? I stepped back before coming at the door with a flying kick. The door flew straight off its tracks. It struck the floor, and the small windows in the middle of it shattered. Old sliding doors made of wood were hard to break, but extremely easy to knock off. Even a middle school student could probably kick it out pretty easily. I guess they were all using the old-style sliding doors in some places too. I strolled into the classroom, then I dropped my heavy backpack to the ground with a thud. I scanned the classroom to see piles of broken desks and chairs. Why would a school look like this? I heard that corruption was running rampant through the public education system, but this was no joke.
힘 왜 이렇게 세 진짜?
Yuri stumbled backwards, realizing she had no more hiding places. I could see her trembling from here. You.
왜요?
She squeaked out a yell, but at least she was back to respectfully calling me sir again. I wasn't sure if she put eye drops in again, but those sure looked like real tears. What have I been asking for? I want to hear the reason why you did all that.
아무것도 모르면서.
Exactly. I don't know, so I want to hear what's going on from your lips. Please. Stop asking me to try to make sense of all this. You have a mouth and lungs to speak, don't you? Yuri kept trying to scoot off to one side, so I corralled her towards a big mirror. It was the perfect wall. Yuri had a hand in her mouth, trying to hold in the sobs. She couldn't hold back the tears, though. Hold up. Is she actually crying this time? Hey, why are you crying for real? I took a quick look around. Fortunately, there was no one else around, but it was only a matter of time before someone swung by. I had a lot of experience soothing crying people, but I had no methods I could use on anyone other than a lover or a niece. What should I do?
난 그냥
Just?
오빠가 그 언니랑 한패거린 줄 알고.
In deep with what woman and?
경고 차원에서
You call almost getting me killed a warning?
왜 자꾸 무섭게 그래요?
I made an even more frightening face, and the trembling Yuri stepped back again. Finally, I had her against the mirror. There was really nowhere for her to run now. Yuri hit the mirror with a dry clunk. The touch surprised her so much that she took a few steps away from it, but as I approached, she stepped back towards it, clearly at a loss for what to do.
안 돼. 이러면 안 돼.
Can't what?
오빠, 제발 비켜. 나 진짜 여기 있으면 안 된단 말이야.
What will happen if you are? Yuri turned back towards the mirror, looking terrified. The name tag reflected in the mirror read Yuri. It was clear. I could read it from here. Why was she so horrified? I was starting to think that it wasn't me she was scared of. It looked like Yuri was paying special attention to the mirror. Then, I realized an obvious fact. The handwriting should have been backwards in the mirror. Yuri in the mirror. She reached out and grabbed Yuri's arm. Being caught by surprise slowed my reaction time. As the arm of the mirror Yuri reached through the glass, it turned as black as a shadow. With that black arm, it looked as though it was trying to pull this Yuri into the glass. I watched Yuri fight not to be pulled in, and the mirror Yuri doing the pulling. The mirror. It was like she was about to fall into a pool of water. So I can't just stand here and watch. Hey you, what do you think you're doing? Unaware of what was going on here, I latched onto Yuri's flailing arm. The other one was pulling her so hard that the other arm had already been sucked into the mirror. The mirror Yuri looked at me, her face strangely twisted. We were playing tug-of-war with a person? What sort of torture was it trying to inflict? Yuri let out a painful groan. As I somehow managed to keep my footing, I asked a very urgent question. Hey, what's worse, going in there or having an arm broken? Right as I asked, Yuri slipped. Her upper body was dragged into the mirror. It really did look like she was sinking into a pool of water. The sound of her scream suddenly cut out. The blue tones in the mirror gave the face... the blue tones the mirror gave that face made her look dead. You little... I pulled as hard as I could without breaking the girl's arm. However, at that very moment, I felt my body being dragged into the mirror behind her. With a horrible sensation, sinking into an ice-cold pool of gelatin, as the feeling gripped me, I totally lost it. I smacked my head against a corner of the mirror to bring myself to my senses. Then I dipped my other arm into the mirror to pull Yuri's torso out of there. She pleaded with me. I'm sorry. I pulled with all my might, unconcerned about what might break. I managed to drag Yuri out of the mirror as she let out another painful moan. Yuri and I were sent crashing into the floor. Ugh, I'm so sorry. I wrapped my arms around Yuri and pulled her as far as I could from the mirror. Mirror Yuri was looking this way, her expression blank. Are you alright? I calmly inspected Yuri's arm, which must have gotten gruesomely stretched. It was clear that her shoulder was out of socket, but thankfully it wasn't broken. However, more concerning than the dislocated shoulder was the difficulty she was having breathing. After vomiting something red, like a blood clot, she grabbed at her shoulders. It's alright, it's not broken. Yuri didn't speak. She just shot me a resentful look. It wasn't a look you should give someone who just saved you, but I decided to give her a pass since she must have been in an awful lot of pain. But you were able to go into that mirror from the real world as...
아니에요.
Huh?
진짜 눈치 없...
Figured out what? Yuri pointed one trembling hand towards the window looking outside. Today, I could clearly remember the weather being blue skies and no clouds. So when did that happen? There was some familiar fog hanging in the air. Ah, this old school building having no one in it was starting to make sense. I've been hanging around ruins so much lately that none of this felt the least bit strange. It looked like I had already passed onto the other world. Since when, though?
몰라요. 오빠 이미 들어와 있는 상태에서 나랑 눈 마주쳤으니까.
Then, in every door and window, black silhouettes of students appeared. They all smiled this way.
오빠, 이리 와.
I finally lost it. Laughter rang in from all sides. It wasn't a constant noise. It rose and fell as it pleased. The sound was shrill and broken. It sounded like sobs were mixed in as well. Every window I could see, a number of mirrors. Those shadow students existed in every reflective surface. The way they bent and twisted was hard to call human. Their motions were repeated over and over, like a video file broken during the editing process. Wow. In the midst of those shriek-inducing scenes,
알겠어요, 오빠. 절대로 뛰거나 비명 지르면 안 돼요.
Yeah.
그리고 거울이나 물, 하여간에 오빠 모습이 직접 비치는 건 전부 다 피해요. 끌려 들어가면 끝이에요. 알아들어요?
I helped Yuri, dislocated shoulder and all, to her feet, and we slowly started walking. Why were there mirrors inside of mirrors here? Sorry.
아, 진짜 살살 좀 못해요?
Why are you barking orders?
오빠가 부러뜨렸잖아.
I told you, it isn't broken.
난 오빠 때문에 이렇게 아픈데?
I am really sorry, though. Why was I even helping her walk when it was her shoulder that was hurt? On second thought, why was I even helping this brat who was just yelling at me? I was in no condition to think about such things, though. In all directions, hands waved, feet, heads, torsos, even something like organs. It was like they were all watching me, all while making those hideous sounds.
오빠, 발 조심!
You bat... A black hand reached for me from a puddle of water on the floor. I dodged it to the side to avoid it. I saw a red handprint where the hand had reached out, as if it was just hanging underneath. What would happen if one had got me and pulled me through, though?
소리 지르지 말라니까요.
Do I look capable of not yelling right now? Do I?
아이, 근육 덩어리 같은 게 겁은 왜 이렇게 많아?
What am I supposed to do with something I can neither beat up nor sue?
아, 아파. 오빠가 부러뜨린 팔이 아파.
Sorry. Yuri was clearly putting on an act to exaggerate how much pain she was in. However, from the sheen of sweat and clenched teeth, I could see that her shoulder hurt quite badly. For a young student, it would be quite the painful experience. She should be thankful it wasn't worse.
오빠, 그거 거울.
I thought the hallway continued forward and was just going to keep walking, but I pulled back right before colliding with a mirror. That was a close call. Huh? There was something very wrong with the reflection in the mirror. I couldn't see myself in it. In fact, the place it showed was clearly not a school hallway. The place looked so familiar. Yuri tapped on the mirror. Hey, that's dangerous.
이런 건 괜찮아요. 모습이 안 비치는 거울은 비치는 거랑 안 비치는 게 있을 거예요. 거울도 물도. 피할 수 없을 땐 비치는 쪽만 피하면 돼요. 그쪽이 진짜 거울이니까.
I mean, don't all actual mirrors show reflections? This is getting unnecessarily complicated. I'll just stay away from all of them. There's a place like this here, too? She lives in a place like this? You live in a place like this? Ah, that just kind of slipped out.
평소엔 이 정도까진 아닌데 가끔씩 이래요. 그래서 숨으러 가고 있었는데.
Sorry, I was out of line.
어?
Ah, another slip of the tongue. I just had to force... It was just a force of habit now.
오빠, 지금 사과했어요?
Nope.
사과했다, 그쵸?
Did not.
잘못한 건 아나 봐요.
Just get a move on. Let's go, alright? Whenever we passed, the shadowy students reached out for us and waved in odd patterns. They crawled out of the mirrors. They stacked on top of each other. They seemed to glide through space. It was a sight that was not for the faint of heart, but fortunately they were extremely slow. As long as they didn't get any faster, we didn't have much to worry about. But what would happen if they did drag me through?
오빠, 저쪽.
Huh? Yuri led me into a corner. It was a set of stairs with a metal railing. There was a large window with cracks in it. I don't think this will work. What will we do if they come from us from upstairs or down?
쟤들 저쪽으론 못 오니까 괜찮아요.
I supported Yuri as we headed towards the staircase, but...
오빠?
As we went for the stairs, it was like we hit a glass wall. I just couldn't get through. Hey, it's not working.
어? 아니 왜? 아 뭐야? 오빠 뭐 이래요?
I really can't get through. What should I... Before I could finish my question, I saw a few shiny lumps roll by my feet. Shards. Hey,
왜요?
you mind if I go back upstairs for a minute?
상관은 없는데 그런다고 뭐가 달라져요?
I have an idea. Lead me to another staircase. I couldn't go through because I didn't know enough about this world. All I had to do was collect more info. I picked the gleaming shards off the ground. Okay, why don't we stop it there? This is audap. You've been watching Her World running on the Steam Deck. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. I will see you at the next stream.